Alright guys, welcome back to Promotech. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going long form on the Pixel 11 Pro because a 15-minute unboxing doesn't do justice to what Google actually changed this generation, and I want to walk through every layer of this phone the way I actually tested it over the past few days, not just the surface stuff. Because underneath a fairly familiar design, there are decisions here that quietly rewrite what a compact flagship is supposed to feel like in 2026, and some of them won't matter to you until 8, 12, 24 months down the line. Let's dive right into the video, starting with the thing most people skip past in 30 seconds, the unboxing itself. The box is small, almost deliberately modest. Inside you get the phone, a Type-C to Type-C cable, a SIM ejector tool, and a thin fold of documentation, nothing more. No charger, no case, and notably, no factory scratch guard pre-applied to the display. On paper, that sounds like corner cutting, but it's actually a confidence statement, because this generation ships with Gorilla Glass Victus 2 covering both the front and back panels. We didn't just take that on faith either. We dropped it, more than once, front first, back first, onto a hard surface from a height that honestly made everyone in the room wince a little. No visible cracking, no shattered glass, just a phone that held its shape. That's the kind of detail that doesn't show up in a spec sheet, but absolutely shows up 18 months from now when it's living in your pocket next to your keys. Now the design conversation, and this is where Pixel has always split opinion generation after generation. This year's shocking pink colorway is going to be a love it or leave it choice. Some people are going to gravitate toward it immediately, others are going straight for the safer obsidian black, and there's a third color option in the lineup too, so there's actual range here instead of the usual black or nothing situation. What surprised me more than the color was the in-hand feel. At roughly 197 grams, this thing sits comfortably in that shrinking category of genuinely compact flagships, a category that used to have 5 or 6 real contenders and now has maybe 2 or 3 left. With mid-range phones creeping closer to flagship pricing every year, a compact flagship that doesn't feel like a compromise starts looking like one of the smarter buys on the market right now, not just the cute one. Let's talk display and chip together, because they're more connected than people realize. You're getting a 6.3-inch FHD panel, 120Hz refresh, AMOLED, thin bezels all the way around, 3000 nits peak brightness and 2000 nits specifically in HDR content. That's genuinely one of the brightest panels in this size class right now. Outdoor visibility isn't an afterthought here, but the actual headline is what's driving that display, the Tensor G6. Everyone assumed this was finally the jump to a 2nm process, and it isn't. It's still built on a 3nm node, except this time it's manufactured through TSMC instead of Samsung's foundry, and that single switch is doing more heavy lifting than people give it credit for. Previous Tensor chips had a well-documented habit of throttling hard under any kind of sustained load. Gaming sessions, long 4K recording, extended camera use, they'd all trigger noticeable heat and slowdown. This one holds its performance window longer before that kicks in. And the reason is partly the better node, partly a redesign that shifts most of the AI workload onto a significantly upgraded NPU and TPU rather than leaning on raw core clock speeds. Benchmark-wise, we're seeing Antutu scores around 1.8 million. Geekbench single-core landing near 2,300 and multi-core pushing past 7,000. Respectable numbers for a Tensor chip. Though if you're coming from a Snapdragon flagship purely chasing benchmark supremacy, that's not really the fight Google's picking here. This is a chip built around a different bet entirely. That on-device AI processing matters more day-to-day than shaving milliseconds off a synthetic benchmark run. That bet becomes obvious the second you start using the software. Android 17 ships clean out of the box. No bloated skins. No duplicate apps fighting each other. Just Google's own stack running the way it's meant to. The bigger shift is Gemini moving from reactive to proactive. Instead of waiting for you to ask something, it's suggesting responses mid-conversation, offering to automate multi-step tasks like booking a hotel or handling repetitive workflows you didn't even think to delegate. Circle to Search now lives inside the camera app itself. Live translation works in real time while you're watching or listening to something in another language. Auto-captioning runs system-wide. Small quality of life additions stack up too. Comfort filters that adjust the display for late-night use or bright sunlight without digging through settings. Lock screen widgets that can surface something like livestock movement without unlocking the phone. None of this is flashy in a keynote slide way, but used daily, it adds up to a phone that's actively trying to remove friction instead of just adding another toggle to bury in a menu somewhere. And Google's backing all of that software ambition with 7 years of guaranteed updates. Which sounds great until you ask the obvious question, how do you actually guarantee that? The answer is hardware, specifically a dedicated Titan M3 security chip sitting separate from the main processor. This isn't just marketing language. It's a physical piece of silicon whose entire job is handling security independently, which is exactly what makes a 7-year promise realistic instead of aspirational. That's the kind of thing you won't think about for the first 2 years you own this phone. And then you'll be very glad about in year 5, when it's still getting real security patches while phones from that same era have long been abandoned by their manufacturers. Now, connectivity, and honestly, this is the section long-time Pixel owners have been waiting years for someone to actually address properly. The single most consistent complaint about Pixel phones has never been the camera. It's always been the network, dropped calls, weak signal indoors, inconsistent 5G handoff between towers, and it's traced directly back to the modem Google kept relying on generation after generation. This year, that changes. Google's moved away from the old setup entirely and shifted to a MediaTek modem instead. Full support across all 5G bands, Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 6, NFC, all present. We haven't run this through months of real-world stress testing yet. That takes time to properly evaluate, but early signs during our testing window point toward noticeably steadier retention than what previous Tensor generations delivered. If that holds up once more people get units in hand across different carriers and regions, this could be the first Pixel in years where signal reliability isn't the asterisk sitting next to every single recommendation video. Let's get into the camera, because the sensor list on paper actually undersells what's happening here. You've got a 48-megapixel primary sensor pulling in noticeably more light than the previous generation, a 13-megapixel ultra-wide, and a 10.8-megapixel telephoto sensor running a 5x optical zoom with OIS built in, and that telephoto punches well above its megapixel count, producing usable results even pushed out to 30x with digital assistance. On the front, a 10.5-megapixel selfie sensor rounds things out. But raw sensor numbers were never really the interesting part of Pixel cameras. It's always been about processing, and this generation's ISP improvements inside Tensor G6 are what actually unlock the new features. Magic Capture shoots a short burst in fast-moving situations, concerts, group shots, kids that won't sit still, and lets the AI identify and hand you the sharpest frame automatically. Instant Night Sight blends hardware and software together. The extra light the primary sensor pulls and combined with faster processing means usable low-light shots without the multi-second wait older night modes required. For anyone doing actual content creation off this phone, there's a built-in teleprompter mode so you're not glancing off camera or reading a script, a safe zone grid specifically for framing reels so nothing critical gets cropped by platform overlays, and camera looks that go beyond simple filters, applying actual sensor-level adjustments to recreate a specific mood rather than just slapping a color grade over the footage afterward. Video-wise, you're getting 4K 60 frames per second recording from both the front and rear sensors, Full HD on the ultra-wide, and the 5x telephoto holding 4K 60 frames per second as well, genuinely strong specs across the board for a phone in this tier. Quick thing before we keep moving, because a phone doing this much automatic AI processing on your photos, your voice input, your location data, is also a phone quietly deciding what leaves your device and when, and that's exactly the gap Wolver fills. It gives you a clean, real-time breakdown of what your installed apps are actually doing with your data, no digging through 5 layers of confusing settings to find a straight answer. If you want to actually enjoy features like Magic Capture and proactive Gemini suggestions without that nagging background question of what else is happening, it's genuinely worth a look. Rounding out the rest of the spec sheet, you're getting USB 3.2 Gen 1, strong haptic feedback that genuinely feels flagship tier, IP68 water and dust resistance, SCR values sitting within standard limits, Widevine L1 support so your streaming apps run at full resolution, and an ultrasonic fingerprint sensor this year instead of the optical one from the previous generation. Alongside reliable face unlock, there's a small Easter egg tucked into the SIM tray area too, worth hunting for if you're the type who notices those details. Drop a comment if you spot it before we mention where. Now, quick thing before we keep going, over 70% of you watching this still aren't subscribed, and honestly, if you made it this deep into a full breakdown instead of clicking away at the 5-minute mark, you're exactly the kind of viewer this channel is built for. Not asking out of obligation, just if you want this level of detail on every release instead of the surface-level 5-minute version everyone else is putting out, hitting subscribe puts you in that smaller group actually getting it first. So here's where I actually land on this. The base Pixel 11 Pro fixes 3 things that have genuinely followed this lineup for years: connectivity, thermal throttling, and long-term security guarantees, while using AI processing to make the camera feel less like a manual tool and more like an assistant working alongside you. That's a real shift in direction, not just another spec bump dressed up as one. The open question now is whether these same fixes carry cleanly into the Pro XL and Fold when they launch, or whether something gets diluted once pricing and marketing pressure kick in on the higher tier models. Drop your prediction below, And if you've already got a unit in hand, let me know if the modem's holding up the way it's supposed to under your specific carrier, because that's exactly the kind of real-world data this comment section is good for. Take care and stay safe. I'll see you in the next one soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.